It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hey, my beautiful queens. Welcome back to the Hint Hive, amplifying women's voices. I'm Kelly Hint, queen bee of this hive, psychotherapist, life coach, and your feminist hype woman. This is the place where we challenge the status quo, crush outdated narratives, and celebrate the badassery that is you. Today, we're peeling back the sparkly pastel pink facade of a trend that has a chokehold on modern culture. Toxic positivity. That's right, the good vibes only crew and their relentless cheerleader energy are under the microscope. Because, let's be real, this mindset is not empowering women, it is suffocating us. So, grab your coffee, tea, or hell, a glass of wine. It's going to be a juicy one. All right, let's kick this off with a little story. Imagine this. You've had a really, really rough week. Work deadlines, family drama, maybe even a curveball from life. You open up to a friend about how you're feeling and how devastating this overwhelm feels to you. And what do they say? Just stay positive. Everything happens for a reason. Cue the internal scream. That, my friends, is toxic positivity in action. It is this cultural obsession with being relentlessly positive no matter what. Sure, positivity itself is not bad. We all need a little hope and joy. But toxic positivity dismisses real emotions. It gaslights us into thinking we are wrong for feeling anything but happy. And let me tell you, as a therapist, I see this all the time. And let's be clear, it's especially harmful to women. Why? Because society already expects us to be nurturing, accommodating, and endlessly cheerful. Toxic positivity just adds another layer of pressure. And by the time my ladies get to me for therapy, they are worn down. They are beaten down. They are so incredibly exhausted. And all they want is for somebody to validate that instead of somebody to say, oh, everything's going to be fine. Well, we don't know that, right? And again, as a therapist, I do not encourage people to wallow in the muck. However, it is imperative that our feelings be validated. And I know that it sounds like I'm dogging on positivity, but I'm really, really not. It's the toxic positivity that invalidates people's feelings that I am attacking right now. And for any men who happen to be listening to this, I know that it is not stereotypical for you to be part of the toxic positivity crowd, but I may have mentioned this before. I don't know. I've done so many episodes now, I can't remember. But very stereotypical male responses come from a place of logic, right? Like let's say you're a male in a heterosexual relationship and your female partner comes home talking about how awful her day was, and you go into fix-it mode. You go into problem-solving mode. That's not what she needs in that moment. What she needs is for you to clamp your mouth shut, shake nod your head up and down, and every now and then throw in oh my gosh, that sounds horrible, right? Because she's just looking for validation. She's not looking for problem solving. And she definitely, everyone else, is not looking for the toxic positivity, because that does not solve a problem and it does not validate the emotion that she's experiencing. In that moment, she simply needs a support. So, ladies, let's talk about how this culture plays out in our lives. So, in the workplace, we are told to smile more, to be team players, and not to take things so seriously. And then toxic positivity shows up in those motivational posters that say, no excuses, or rise and grind. It's like, what if I just want to rise and rest today? And then in our relationships, we are often labeled as dramatic or too sensitive if we express real feelings. Toxic positivity tells us to swallow our emotions and keep the peace, even if it's at our own expense. And then in motherhood, for the moms listening, how many of you have felt the pressure to make parenting look like an Instagram highlight reel? The message is clear. You are not allowed to struggle or admit it's hard. And again, as a therapist, I have worked with new moms. I have seen the tears falling from their eyes as they have felt like they are failing as a mother because their life does not look like the Instagram stories that they are consuming. You know, the perfect family photos and the perfect holidays and the perfect this and the perfect that. And nobody wants to talk about the messy side of motherhood. And let me tell you, as a mother, I am saying it is messy. There are times when you are going to question whether or not you even like your child. But oh no, we're not supposed to talk about that, right? We're not supposed to talk about it. We're just supposed to slap that smile on our face and act like we were meant to be breeding cows and just happily spit out new crotch goblins and everything is perfect and we are not supposed to complain at all. Well, sorry. I'm telling you, this is wrong. And here's the kicker. Toxic positivity does not just dismiss our feelings, it actually isolates us. If we're not happy, shiny, and high vibe, we are made to feel like failures. Go on TikTok, go on Instagram, see all of the shiny, happy people. See all of the, oh my gosh, look at this perfect family photo, and you think that it just happened. Meanwhile, there were so many tears and fights and aggravation behind the scenes of that perfect family photo. I'm telling you, those who put out perfection in their feeds, they are lying. It is not as perfect as it seems. And now I will say, as somebody who doesn't, I don't post a whole lot of personal stuff. I like to try and post things that are like funny memes or inspirational stuff. And so I'm not the person who on my personal pages, I don't talk about how crappy my day was or anything. Cause I don't put that stuff out on social media. But I'm also not putting out lies. I'm not talking about how I make $500,000 a year and my life is perfect because I don't think I will ever hit that figure. But I know a lot of business women, they are putting out some false posts on their social media of how successful they are. Why? I think a lot of them are trying to draw in clients or something, but I'm sorry. If you look like one of these shiny, happy, toxically positive people, I'm going to think that you don't know crap about crap. I'm going to think that you don't know what it's like to struggle. And so why would I want to connect with you? I need somebody who gets it, who knows, who hears me. And so I encourage people to keep that in mind. When you are seeing all of this perfection on social media, just remember, it's not accurate. And let me put on my psychotherapist hat for a second. Toxic positivity, it stems from our brain's discomfort with pain, both our own and other people's. So when someone says, just be positive, it is often because they don't know how to handle your emotions. It's kind of like some of the things that we say to people who are grieving. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the raw emotions of grieving, and they say things to the grieving person like, oh, they're in a better place, and oh, they're in heaven now, and oh, they're not suffering anymore. I understand that this comes from a beautiful place. You are trying to comfort the person, but guess what? That is toxic positivity. Because also, guess what? They do not give one crap. They are feeling hurt. They are experiencing their own sadness, and all they need is to be validated in that moment. Because in their heads, they're screaming, I don't care that they're in heaven. They're not here with me. Right? And then also, how about for the people who don't believe in heaven as an afterlife? You're adding more conflict onto their already full plate. So I understand that it's uncomfortable sometimes to deal with people's overwhelming emotions. But here's the deal. Ignoring or suppressing emotions does not make them go away. In fact, research shows that bottling up feelings can lead to higher levels of stress, anxiety, and even physical health issues. Emotions are like messy house guests. They need to be acknowledged, not shoved into the basement, right? We have them. We need to do something about it. So if you are somebody who typically responds with toxic positivity to other people, maybe you need to get real with the fact that you're not comfortable dealing with that person's emotions. And instead of shutting them down by saying everything's going to be okay, maybe you simply say, I'm so sorry, I don't know what that's like. Or, I'm so sorry, I don't even know how to respond. And then maybe even encourage them in, of course, a non-condescending way, either to join a support group or to talk to a professional, because sometimes people really do need professional help to get through some of these things. Like if they're constantly coming home and bitching about their job and they seem to be really, really stuck, maybe they need to talk to a therapist or a coach. Because if there's some mental health issues going on behind that, maybe they need to work on that in therapy. Or if their mental health issues are manageable for the most part, but they're struggling to just manage stressors and they don't need therapy, that's when a coach can come into play. I've worked with many, many ladies in my coaching practice on just kind of getting their crap together. Like, okay, so this is your goal. This is where you are. This is where you want to be. Let's problem solve this. Let's figure out how to get you from A to Z. So it can be a little bit different than therapy because, again, if somebody needs therapy, really encourage them to see a therapist. But again, it's also the therapist's job to determine if they need therapy or not. But anyway, see, here I go, going off on a tangent, but toxic positivity just kind of pushes my buttons because, again, I see so many people in my therapy practice who say to me, nobody gets me. Nobody understands me. I can't talk to anyone about this. They tell me to just pray, or they tell me to just think positively, and they think that this is going to be fixed. So by the time they get to me, they are just so exhausted and broken down. So we can do something before they get to that point. We can fight back against toxic positivity. We can give them validation instead of responding with a very cold thought of, oh, you'll be fine, right? So how do we fight back against this glitter-coated nonsense? Let me break it down. First of all, validate your feelings. It is okay to feel angry, sad, overwhelmed, or anything that isn't positive. Your emotions are valid, period. And then, of course, the next one, set boundaries. If somebody hits you with toxic positivity, like good vibes only, you can respond, I appreciate your optimism, but I really need space to feel my feelings right now. Boom. Boundaries. Right there. Badass. The next piece here is to find safe spaces. Surround yourself with people who get it. Maybe that's your best friend, a therapist, a coach, or even a community like the Hint Hive Facebook group. I have seen women in there really making an effort to uplift and support others. For example, it was a challenge for a lot of the women that I work with and a lot of my listeners after the results of the 2024 US election. And instead of everybody in the Facebook group saying, oh, everything's going to be fine, blah, 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 all the women in there allowed one another to have their feelings, and nobody railed against them. Nobody hit them with toxic positivity, and it was such a beautiful thing. I was so happy to see that people were not afraid to be themselves. They were not afraid to put it out there and be vulnerable because they knew that that Facebook group is a safe space for them. And it's a safe space for people of all different belief systems, cultures, you name it. Now, I don't know if people are being nice in there because they're afraid of me, because anyone who knows me knows that I will shut crap down real quick. I do not tolerate hatred or lack of compassion or bullying or trolling. No, you will be out faster than you can inhale. I don't put up with that. But I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that people are afraid of me in that group. I think it is simply that it's just such a good group of people who are very clear because they listen to this podcast. They know what I'm about and therefore what the group is about. All right, so this last piece here. Practice radical self-compassion. When you catch yourself falling into the I should just be positive trap, just simply pause. Ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in my shoes? Chances are you would be way kinder to them than you are to yourself. So turn that around. That's actually something as a therapist, I hear people say such horrible things about themselves. And I love being able to call them out on it right there in the moment. Sometimes I say things like, ooh, that sounded kind of harsh. Would you say that to your daughter? Or sometimes, depending on the relationship that I have with the person, I'll be like, hey, you're talking about somebody that I care about. Don't be talking about her like that. Because, sometimes people respond a little bit better to humor. So I bring the humorous side of me into it, and we can have a good laugh and then do a deeper dive to understand where the negativity towards oneself is coming in instead of validating their feelings. And so here's the thing. Positivity can be powerful, but only when it's authentic. Now, feminist positivity is not about ignoring pain. Instead, it's about holding space for all of your emotions. It's about saying, I can be pissed off at injustice, sad about loss, and hopeful for the future, all at the same time. That, my friends, is real empowerment. That is what makes us resilient. When we rise above the cultural and societal norms and expectations and instead get real with who we are and acknowledging that we are allowed to feel exactly how we're feeling, there's so much power in that. And I get it. I get that it's hard. I will also admit I've struggled with this myself. I have said very, very mean things to myself. And I add another layer on it sometimes. I'll say things like, you idiot, you're a damn therapist. You should know better. And then I'm like, ooh, that was not mean, because I think of any one of my therapist friends, and I cannot imagine me saying that to any of them in response to something that they're struggling with. So why would I say it to myself? And so then I check myself and I'm like, ooh, girl, don't be falling into that trap. Don't be falling into the patriarchy, because that is the patriarchy speaking right then and there, invalidating me, invalidating my feelings. And if any of you have listened to the prior episode of dealing with internalized misogyny, this is part of it, right? When we look in the mirror and we don't see the amazing creatures we are because we're not having a smile on our face or we don't have makeup on, that is the patriarchal expectation that has seeped into our existence. And we need to stop it with that. Because again, remember, we are empowered and we are resilient. And so that means we need to start being nicer to ourselves too. Now, I know some of you may struggle a little bit with this overall message of toxic positivity simply because you are incredibly positive people. You are not who I am calling out. I actually know, I'm thinking of one person in particular. She is such an amazing person, and I'm so happy to see that she is having amazing things happening in her life. She's not a patient or a client of mine. She's a friend of mine. We used to work together, and she is the happiest person I've ever known. She always has a smile on her face, and she is just almost a literal ray of sunshine. If anyone knows Allison Flint, that is who I'm talking about. And I don't think she listens to the podcast, so it would be even funnier if you know her and you say something to her about this. But anyway, we worked together many, 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 many years ago. And she was always so happy. And again, she is not the person I'm talking about, because she was not toxically positive. Because let me tell you, I came into work in a bad mood a lot. And she never hit me with any of this nonsense. The reason why I bring her up is because I want to illustrate the clear difference between just a happy, good, sweet, genuine person versus the toxic positivity. Like, my boss was like, he would send me text messages at 3:00 in the morning, like yelling at me about something. And so I would go into work the next day and I would be in a bad mood. And never once did she say, "Oh, Kelly, it's going to be fine. Just be happy. Put a smile on your face." No, that was not her. She would validate my feelings and be like, "Yeah, that really sucks. He's such a jerk." But she was still an overall, I'm telling you, she is the happiest person I've ever known. But she's also able to validate her own feelings. And, again, she is someone that I have aspired to be like. I mean, she sees the world through such a beautiful lens. And so quite often when I was young, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, when we spent a lot of time together, when we were working together, I used to just try to get in touch with that side of me also. She was a great reminder of appropriate positivity, of healthy positivity. So again, there's a big difference between toxic positivity and just being a happy, bubbly, healthy, positively person. So, Allison, if you do ever happen to listen to this episode, I want to thank you for who you are, and I want to congratulate you on the many blessings that life has given you, because you deserve it more than most. So again, I will take another moment to remind people that you have no idea who you are affecting. So keep that in mind. Because the world needs a little bit more kindness in there, and not toxic kindness. All right, my loves, let's wrap this up. No more rambling from me. All right. So toxic positivity might tell us to slap on a fake smile, but we are not here for that. We are here for raw, messy, beautiful humanity. If this episode hit home for you, please share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And come hang out with us in the Hint Hive Facebook group, where we keep it real, good vibes and bad. Until next time, keep owning your truth, feeling your feelings, and amplifying your voice. Together, we've got this. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.